Hey guys, Martin here bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today I wanted to take a look at the new LR free-to-play AGL Bardock, but we're going to run him on the Anniversary LR's team. So obviously that is one of the best teams in the game at the moment, but the issue of course for him, as we talked about in his initial showcase, is that he will only be getting the 170 lead from these guys, right, because they have the Pure Saiyans 170. He is not on Successors, Fred Fighters, Fusion or Patara, so he doesn't get their full leader skill. One of the things we mentioned during that initial showcase is the fact that this guy does not get a full 220 leader skill from any units in the game at the moment, right? So there is no team where we can see him with a higher than 200% buff, and the teams that he does get a 200% lead are obviously starting to get to the point where they're like a little bit outdated now, right? Like Tech Vegeta, and of course units like Int Broly or the Int Fat Boo, they are extreme characters, and obviously he wants to be run with superclass characters. He doesn't get his entrance animation unless you have 3 or more superclass allies on the team, and then obviously he's supporting superclass allies. He also supports time travelers, which on this particular team build, you know, we don't have any time travelers characters, although it is interesting of course the fact that the Daima units are on time travelers, so he would be supporting like Daima Vegeta, Daima Goku for the full 50%, which is definitely a very significant buff. So this guy is going to look really interesting when we do finally get a 220 lead for him, but I wanted to try him out under double 170s, right, because he will be able to fit on a lot of teams where he's only getting the 170 lead. So starts off at 8.8. Obviously that's nothing too crazy, but you know, A, he's a free-to-play unit, and then B, obviously he stacks attack on his 12 key supers, so we're not expecting his first turn attack stats to be particularly crazy, but you know, we can get some couple of extra attacks off here. Hey, nice, we've got the quad super turn, we'll definitely take that. If he stacked attack and defense, imagine how absolutely crazy he would be. I put up a tweet, I'm going to make a video for tomorrow. There's been a lot of discussion about this Bardock in the community. Some people think he's like insanely good, like we're talking like top 10 LRs comparable to summonable units, and other people saying that he's mid, like he's not even the best free to play unit. I'm assuming the only contention I guess for that is like Demon King Piccolo maybe, but yeah, I wanted to do this video first because I want to see what he's going to look like on these 170 teams before I make my decision of like where I think I would put him, like in a tier list or something like that, because I do feel like this is where he'll probably see the most use in the meta at the moment, because like when new difficult stages come out, unless you're running that like Tech Vegeta team with then like a bunch of super class Vegeta family or Super Saiyan characters, like the 170 team is kind of the best he's going to get for a lot of these setups, right? So I just want to see how good he's going to be on a double 170 lead team, and we can hopefully, we won't like completely draw our conclusions from this, but I feel like it's useful information to have when deciding how to rate this guy, because teams are certainly important. Like a unit could be the best unit in the game, but they're only on one team, and that team could be a team that is like aging out, like the leader is a unit that's dangerous to run in difficult content, and then can you really say that that unit is the best unit in the game, right? Because whenever you run him on the only team that he's on, the 2 copies of the leader of that team are a huge liability to get you killed, and so then what is your win rate with that team in difficult content going to be, good or bad? Like, it's hard to say overall when rating these units, so it's useful to know how good he is on like a 170 team, because as we said, the 10th anniversary lead teams are of course like right up there with being the best teams in the game. So if he can work well on this team with a 170 lead in these like red zone stages, he will certainly be much more valuable overall. And of course, when he does finally get a 220 team, like that's the big thing that I'm waiting for. I'm really hoping that the next Dokkan Fest that comes out, which will be the 1st of April, usually, might be the 2nd, but it's usually April 1st, the April Fool's Dokkan Fest. Really hoping that we get an extreme character, because we obviously don't have any proper extreme 220 leaders. Like Int Frieza is, like the Frieza and Goku, but they lead Battle of Fate, which obviously does have a mix of super and extreme, but it doesn't have some of the big like characters we want, like the Terrifying Conquerors and Big Bad Bosses. So I'm hoping the next Dokkan Fest is an extreme 220 lead, and of course that's not going to help out Bardock, unless I guess the character is like an extreme time travelers unit, because Bardock does support time travelers, but again, to get his intro, you have to have superclass units on the team. So I think people want a proper extreme buff, not an extreme leader like a Broly, for example, whose team then ends up being full of like superclass because you put all the other like Super Saiyan characters and stuff on there, right? So I guess we have to see. It's interesting that this is just these guys' first turn. So I mean, they can be a safe bet for slot 1. Bardock obviously has guard at the beginning and has 30% damage reduction. Except actually, does this this base Goku Black doesn't count as a transformation boost character, does he? So probably can't really get away with putting him in slot 1. Maybe I'll just get like a low amount of key for the Super Saiyan 4s. Obviously, that is the only issue with Bardock being a unit that is going to really want to stack a lot early on, is if you get turns where you're missing supers with him, or at least missing the 18 key. Not because of key issues, because he gives himself a lot of key, but obviously like if your slot 1 unit ends up killing the enemy. Because that's the other thing we have to think about, is that in a lot of situations, if you're going to put this Bardock on your team, realistically he wants to be like a 3rd slot floating support unit. Because you've got your other characters that you want to prioritize being on the rotation, right? So obviously the AGL Vegeta or Goku, depending on which form they're in, obviously have their uses, but as a unit overall with the ability to fuse into Gogeta, they're obviously better than the LR Bardock. So do we want to keep him on rotation here so he gets this extra stack, or would we rather get the extra attack stat for the Vegeta? But I think it depends. Like, Bardock might not actually kill here, which in a way is good, right? Because with these red zone stages, like, we're not trying to complete it the quickest time possible. So if everybody on the rotation gets to get some stacks, then obviously that's very good. Another 4 attack turn from Bardock, even though only the 3 supers, but definitely very, very good for him. And of course, like, he is stacking attack with his 12 key super, but he is still also greatly raising defense with each one of those as well. So on his initial super, he greatly raises defense as the infinite stack. Then those 2 additional 12 key supers both greatly raise defense again. So post super, his defense is very, very good. And obviously against a transformation boost or Wicked Bloodline enemy, he has the 30% damage reduction and an extra 120 attack. So I think that's why his attacks there obviously looked a bit lower than we'd seen in the previous event against the base Goku Black. STR Rose is next. Does he count as transformation boost? Is he on there? He is not. So he does not count. I thought this would be an interesting event to jump into. I like using the Future Saga Red Zone stages as the like to test out units, because they're decent length and they're quite like challenging. But obviously for this one in particular, for Bardock, none of the enemies are transformation boost. Let me double check the Goku one. Because yeah, like obviously if the unit isn't transforming, yeah, because it's base Goku Black and base Zamasu, so they're not going to be. And then the final boss is Black and Zamasu, and yeah, they're not either. But that's the other thing, right, is this Bardock, you can say like, oh, you're not running him against the right enemy, but that's the thing, to test out how good he is overall, I want to see him against like all of these different enemies, right, to see how good he is actually going to be. So testing him out against a non-transformation boost or Wicked Bloodline enemy is also useful information, right, in terms of knowing how good he's going to be in these future events. Because if he's not good, unless it's a transformation boost or Wicked Bloodline enemy, then he's not going to be useful for lots of like new content that comes out, right? Like, for example, we're getting the DB Saga Red Zone stages at the moment. First few stages have been pretty straightforward, right, not too challenging, but we would expect, of course, the later stages to be a lot more difficult. But those enemies are not going to be Wicked Bloodline or transformation boost, right? Because I mean, there basically aren't any transformations in OG Dragon Ball, so apart from the Great Ape, I guess, but pretty sure that doesn't come under transformation boost. So, like, is he going to be good in those tough stages? If the last few Dragon Ball Saga Red Zone stages are tough, and if the last one is like the new hardest Red Zone stage in the game, like, it's useful to know whether he's going to be good in those stages without that extra buff. And obviously 30% damage reduction goes a pretty long way for him to be able to tank against these tough enemies, because his guard is only for the first few turns thanks to his intro buff. So that's when you want him to start getting up to these high levels of defense, because if he's got no guard and no damage reduction, then, you know, he's going to need very high raw defense to be able to tank some of these attacks. But that's why he can work well as a third slot floating unit. A lot of these more difficult events, the bosses are a lot more likely to super in slot 1 and 2. But slot 3 super is still a thing that can happen. And so that's where support units will get tagged like the most, right? And bringing support units that get absolutely destroyed by these tough bosses is a massive liability on some of these teams, right? So that's why we want to know, like, how good is Bardock going to be. I think you can probably afford in some of these events, like if we were just legit trying to beat this, like we hadn't beat the stage for the first time and we were trying to get it done and we're using Bardock, like keeping him on rotation for a little bit early on so that you can get the stacks in with him, I think is like not a terrible idea, because now that we've got this rotation where we can end up with the Super Saiyan 4s together, this would be the perfect time to float him off, right? Remember, he does get 100% attack and defense when attacking, so he is still, thanks to all the super attack buffs, like after he's attacked on this turn, he will be over 1,000,000 defense. And this, I've obviously switched over to the Goku one here, but this STR Goku Black, we know that he super attacks in slot 1 pretty much all the time. His normals do 900k. So obviously in this sort of situation where we know he's pretty much always going to super in slot 1, Bardock will be perfectly fine to tank his normals if we were using him as a floating like third slot support, right? So go ahead and transform Goku. Still a massive shame, of course, that Bardock, despite very clearly going Super Saiyan 2 in his active skill, isn't on Super Saiyan 2 and also therefore Power Beyond Super Saiyan, because like imagine him together with this AGL Super Saiyan 4 Goku getting an extra 70% defense and 10% damage reduction on top of what he's already doing. Like, he would be absolutely crazy. And it kind of goes back to that video I made as we were getting towards the end of the anniversary, right? The Super Saiyan 4 Goku problem is, are they gonna keep characters off Power Beyond Super Saiyan or nerf characters who are on Power Beyond Super Saiyan because of the ridiculous buff that this Super Saiyan 4 Goku would give them? Hopefully not, but obviously that would make him a lot better in the fact that he would be on a lot of other teams as well. I think I mentioned this in his initial video, but he would be on the Daima Vegeta 220 team if he was on Power Beyond Super Saiyan. And like I say, he would be supporting him for 50% because he's a super class time traveler character. So that would have been an awesome like combo to be able to run him on that Daima Vegeta team, getting the full 220 lead and supporting the Vegeta. Obviously you could still run him on the team, but he's only getting the 170, so at least I think so, because Daima Vegeta has Daima Vegeta's 170s are transformation boost or gifted warriors, yeah. And this guy, the Bardock, is actually on transformation boost, right? Because, or did he not get that either? Because I mean, he literally transforms in his intro, so okay, well there you go. So he's actually not on Daima Vegeta's leader skill at all because he's not on gifted warriors. I can't believe he transforms in his intro. But I mean, again, this is Dokkan's been doing this a lot recently with some of these characters where, like, why is he not on transformation boost? He transforms in the intro. Like, a bit weird. But yeah, so Rose hits for 900k. So we can't really put you in slot 1 here. It'd be nice to put Goku in slot 1, but he's got not a lot of defense here because he gets all of his extra defense when attacking. I mean, he has 10% damage reduction and type advantage, so he wouldn't take like crazy damage from a Goku Black normal here. But I don't want to use Bardock's active skill just yet because we are still fairly far from the end. We've also got really bad key on this rotation, which doesn't help. So yeah, yikes, this is a really bad turn. So I do that. I already wanted the physical orbs for the Super Saiyan 4s, but I'll do that. What items do I have? I mean, we know he's not going to super because we used the giant ape like thing, but I guess I could just do this. Makes things a little bit easier. Actually, I wonder how that works. I'm assuming he, when the attacks come back on the next turn, he can then super again. Because obviously with the giant ape, because I guess it is technically, the reason the giant ape thing works is because it keeps it as the same turn. Whereas obviously now that we've ghost ushered and we go on to the next turn, But yeah, obviously this is just a case of, because we're trying to showcase Bardock and see how we can get him built up. Obviously, if we were trying to just get the normal clear, I think that probably the strategy here is just transform the Super Saiyan 4s into Gogeta, put him in slot 1, Goku slot 2, and then Bardock in slot 3. And then this will be a very powerful rotation. Like, once you get Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and Super Saiyan 4 Goku together, they're pretty crazy as it is anyway. And then Bardock's obviously giving them 25% extra support in slot 3. But trying to see what Bardock can do here if we get him a little bit built up. But I suppose you can argue, like, if you are someone who thinks that Bardock is maybe a little bit overrated, like, this is obviously not, like, optimal play. Like, why would we keep him on rotation when we could keep the Super Saiyan 4s all together? Like, and that does, you know, that is a fair point. With Goku will be fine here, right? He has guard and then he gets 200% when he gets hit. And of course he just has the 80% chance to just straight up dodge it anyway. Yeah, plus if we transform you back, you give defensive support as well. So that puts his defense up a little bit more. Yeah, the key has not been great on some of these turns, but we'll go ahead and do that. Grab those for you. Yikes. I'll do that. So yeah, of course, Goku dodges the... okay, he didn't... well, he could still super afterwards, I guess. Because, yeah, my understanding is that with the Giant Ape thing, the Giant Ape, like, plus Ghost Usher combo, like, isn't supposed to work like that, I think. But, I mean, maybe it does. If he doesn't super, then we'll know. But... because this Rose, like, I don't think I've done a run on this event a single time where he hasn't super attacked. And it's pretty much always in slot 1. So... that's some interesting tech, I guess. Giant Ape into Ghost Usher. Let me know if it does actually work like that, or if we just got weirdly lucky here on this turn. Or, of course, he could be about to super the gods, I don't know. But, yeah, that's definitely an interesting, like, combo if it does work like that. Giving you that extra turn where you know you're not going to get supered. Following the Giant Ape transformation, then use a Ghost Usher. I'm assuming that probably wouldn't work if it transitioned over, like, from phase to phase, though, right? Because obviously the turn always has to change if that is the case. If, like, we'd killed him and gone on to Fusion Zamasu. But that's certainly interesting if it does work like that. But yeah, God's getting their attacks off here. I'm not sure if Goku will kill at the end. It is the Rainbow Friend, so hopefully he does get at least one additional. Maybe get some crits. Be kind of awkward if we don't kill him here. It's going to be close. If that additional normal had been a super, we'd have been fine. Yeah. Oh, really? Bro, come on. Dude has like 1 HP. Alright, well. What do we do here? Bardock has 540k. Not going to tank a super. Man, how annoying is that? Yeah, we can't even use like the Vegito to cover for Bardock because the counter will just kill Rose here. You don't have enough defense to tank in slot 1. You don't have enough defense to tank in slot 1. It's kind of annoying. Guess we'll just do this again. I just want to see what the... I want to see how high... the combo that I want to try and get is using Bardock's active skill on the same turn as like the Gogeta active skill, where it gives everybody the massive buff, and see like how high his defense can get up to on that turn. I think that would be kind of crazy, but we have to get to that point. And I also don't have they're not going to be on the same rotation together anyway, unless we float off you here. Okay, yeah, they're at like 2 mil already. They did get a lot of additionals in one of those previous turns. Alright, well I guess we'll just do this then. I mean, we might not. Bardock, we might not be able to get to the point where Vegeta, we get Gogeta back around to Bardock, because obviously once the 7 years come out, this is where the destruction begins. And of course, this is where Bardock will have that use, like, on the team, because once the 7 years have transformed, imagine this rotation with like the 2 7 years, but then Bardock's in slot 3, giving them that extra support. We know where the super is, so we know he's not going to get hit by a super on this turn. If he was in slot 3, he'd get to attack first, and so then he's easily going to tank Zamasu's normals afterwards. So yeah, he's definitely usable under a double 170 leads. Obviously his numbers don't get up as high as they would, like, as quickly on the other team setups, but I think he definitely would still be usable. You just got to be careful, I guess, with the non-transformation boost or Wicked Bloodline enemy. He doesn't have the damage reduction, which helps a lot. Like, when you do have that active, he is considerably better, of course, because his defense can start to get quite high, and then that 30% damage reduction, like, factored in, like, goes a long way. So it'll be interesting to think about as well, because obviously it won't be for a while, because as a quest mode LR, we know that, like, Broly and Trunks haven't got theirs yet, but, like, when this guy gets an easy A, he has the potential to be really, really good as well. Like, if they increase the number of turns that he has the guard from his intro, obviously the restriction transformation boost or Wicked Bloodline isn't the worst thing in the world, so I don't think they would loosen up on that, but obviously that would be really good if he got some even more than 30% damage reduction, up the support to like 30% each, so he's giving super class time travelers 60%. Like, he could be really, really good. We've probably got to wait quite a while for that though, because obviously Broly and Trunks, like, they awakened into LR quite some time ago now, and obviously still don't have an easy A, so it's not something that we'll probably see anytime soon. But yeah, hopefully they get done justice as well, because, like, comparing them on, like, to how good they were on release, like, Broly and Trunks were pretty good, but obviously their whole thing about needing to do additionals within the turn, but all of their attacks only have, like, a medium chance to become a super. Like, in terms of how good are they on release, like, this Bardock is definitely way better than they were. Obviously, comparing them, he's better because he's newer, but in terms of how good they were in the meta, like, when they released, like, yeah, Bardock is in a significantly better place, I think, than they were. So yeah, that's definitely an interesting one. So he's up to 648k. Now, obviously, that doesn't seem like a crazy amount, but remember, he gets 100% when he attacks, and then he gets all the buffs from his super attack effects as well. So if we go ahead and fuse into Vegito here, you're providing, is it attack support? Yeah. So if we switch you over to Goku for, like, the defense support, then it's 648. How much health has he got? Are we going to get around to this rotation again? Probably not with all of these. I mean, let's put him here and tank this, because this guy's supers for 4.8 million, the Zamasu. So let's go ahead and do this. Use the active skill for Bardock. Does a little bit of damage, nothing crazy, but now that puts him up to 5.4 million defense. So even without the damage reduction, like, he is just going to eat the super here from Zamasu. So we'll go ahead and do this. Actually, you probably should be in the other mode, because I don't know how well Goku would tank the normals there from Zamasu. So we'll do that. Yeah, obviously Vegito going to get some counters here. They're not going to be guaranteed crits because it's not the active skill turn. So we'll see what happens. He probably will still do a decent bit of damage. It is the friend one, who of course is Rainbow. There's Bardock with the dodge. Because yeah, I still think the best build for Bardock is like full dodge and then the rest additional. Because he gets multiple additionals from his kit already anyway. So you get multiple chances to proc the additional. Yeah, I think mine's at like 21 and then like 13 or 14 or something for additional. So we saw in this turn we had in this run we had quite a few turns where he got the 4 attacks like while his intro was still up, which is really good. Yeah, we'll see what he's doing here. So remember as well, he gets 100% defense when he attacks. So his defense start of turn on the active skill turn was like 5 point something million, right? So when he attacks, he goes up to having over 10 million defense. So on his active skill turn, he will tank any like red zone or like formidable foes boss. I guess for formidable foes, the thing with this guy is that you can't use his active skill until turn 5, unless you're at 60% or less HP, which of course that event, because it hits so hard straight away, like if he's coming in on turn 2 or 3, like, you know, turn 3 maybe being phase 2 against the boss, and they've done some big damage to you on the previous turn, he can then use it straight away, and then he will be good defensively like against those bosses. So yeah, I think he's definitely a very, very good unit. Is he a top 10 LR overall? I don't know. I'd have to look at like the easiest thing to do, right? Because I did one for like the end of the anniversary, is look at the top 10 LRs list, and then it's just a case of like, is he better than any of those units on there? And if you can make arguments that he is better than any of those units, then you could certainly say that he's in the discussion, right, for being top 10. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below of this AGL Bardock. I think he's definitely very, very good. For a free-to-play unit, he's obviously insanely good. We would not expect, like, free-to-play characters to be on this kind of level for the most part, right? So, yeah, definitely a fantastic unit. He won't get another turn here anyway, because we could go ahead and use like all the active skills and everything, so we'll just leave it off there. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of AGL Bardock. Is he overrated? Is he underrated? What are your thoughts? Let me know down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.